Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out for this discussion today. My name is Andrei Degeler. I'm the head of media at The Next Web, and I'm very, very happy to present you today Maureen Dunne, the senior advisor and SAND expert at Liga Foundation and co-founder at Autism Angels. Please give another round of applause to Maureen.
One is that there's a growing body of evidence that neurodivergent people, as ADHD, autism, dyslexia, that there's enhanced creativity and innovation, thinking outside of the box, and thinking about the economic climate we're entering, right, in the future of work, and the role that AI and machine learning is increasingly playing in our lives. In my opinion, it's more important than ever that employers consider, including and embracing as complementary talent neurodivergent people who have skill sets that may be more resistant to AI replacement, like nonlinear thinking, lateral thinking, visual spatial thinking, reverse engineering, these type of skill sets. And, as a hedge against groupthink, again, as we talked about, there's a lot of research about that even if, a lot of neurodivergent people are coming at things at a different angle, so they may see things that other people don't see, and then also they're not quite as concerned about their social status, so they're willing to speak up. And so it just brings me back to why for me, it's just such a special closing of the circle, because I think, we're all here for our students, right? I think that's what really matters. And having this institution having been so transformational for me while I was a student, and then to be back here and have the honor of serving as board chair now and being in a position to make a positive impact for thousands of students who I can identify with, right? Who like me now are ready, willing, and able to find a path, find their own path, find their unique path towards self-actualization, climb those new mountains, and have faculty, have mentors that are truly, truly going to care about them and invest in them, so that they can be successful. And for that, I'm just truly, truly grateful. And I just want to thank you. This is very much a great honor for me.
If we're speaking specifically, say, about those that identify as neurodivergent entrepreneurs or even job seekers, right? Sometimes there's just absolutely extraordinary talent that's not going to shine through in a verbal social process interview, whether that's pitching VCs, whether that's, a job interview. And so fundamentally, the structure of the way the world of work and, access to funding works in our world is so dependent on being social. And yet you have this population that is brilliant and, could maybe solve some of our world's most pressing problems, but that's not necessarily going to be reflected in a verbal exchange.
Okay. Hi, good evening. I'm Maureen Dunne, and I've been an autism advocate, disability advocate for most of my life. Most recently, in the last 10, 15 years, I've been heavily involved in the technology industry. And actually just recently, today just flew in from Harvard Business School, came straight here. And one thing that just was really, I think, encouraging for me was I was part of a program and was meeting with senior leadership in mostly C-suite leaders in publicly traded companies across the world. And I found it was very encouraging to me how many people I talked to this week that were very not only open but just welcoming to including people with autism and other disabilities, and also seeing it as essential, absolutely essential to innovation, to moving their businesses forward, how important it is to have people that think differently. There's assumptions that get made quickly based on things that have nothing to do with the job that someone is interviewing for, and there's all this hidden talent. So neurodiversity, whether you're autistic, whether you're ADHD, dyslexia, and there's dyspraxia, and there's a lot of individuals that identify with, are kind of, there's overlapping conditions or what I would call neurodiversity, not otherwise specified. So not everyone fits perfectly into a box, but I think the core thing I'd like to get across is that I think what employers are really missing out on is that there's these amazing talents, extraordinary talents, but they're not going to come across in a verbal interview. Like, so there's this amazing creativity, innovation, very lateral thinking, systems thinking, things that aren't just going to translate in this sort of like social linear process.
And those talents are also a result of the neurodiverse, of the neurodivergence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And employers should be actively looking for that, because one, it's a hedge against groupthink, and we're entering, I believe, an economic era. The employment landscape is changing so fast, and I think we're entering an era where those skill sets are going to be more valuable than ever. And it's worth, being more flexible and changing how we're doing things in terms of interviewing to properly assess talent.
So before we delve into our panel, just want to take just a little bit of time to give an overview of why entrepreneurship and neurodiversity is such an important topic. What I think you should know about the value of entrepreneurship and opportunities available for those in the audience who may identify as neurodiverse. So I'll start by telling you a really quick, true story. So it was not that long ago, I was speaking with a venture capitalist about my vision for how to best support neurodiverse entrepreneurs and about the work of the Autism Angels Group, which is a social impact investment group focused on neurodiversity. And I was stunned and disappointed that the response to these ideas and suggestions, which of course I'm very passionate about, was that this individual did not believe that neurodiverse founders, whether autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, etc., could ever become successful entrepreneurs. I recall this person's, saying something along the lines of that, the vast majority of neurotypicals really wouldn't be capable of becoming successful entrepreneurs, and you add neurodiversity in the mix, and that makes success completely impossible. So I think in this panel, I think we are here to challenge these types of false assumptions, which I believe anyway that we all can agree represent an extremely flawed and biased perspective.
And you've come to focus on neurodiversity. When did you first become interested in cognitive diversity?
When I was a teenager, the same formative time period we were talking about, I had some really powerful experiences with some children, especially some autistic children. There was one girl, for instance, that was supposed to be institutionalized, and I was very fortunate to be part of a team working with her, connecting with her, and seeing her progress way beyond what was predicted, and realizing that we don't understand, this was a while back, but realizing that we don't understand everything about the brain and neuroplasticity, and nothing's as fixed as people maybe thought at the time. And then also just, I've had a lot of personal experiences. I'm an extremely nonlinear thinker myself, so I've always identified with the community myself, and my family's majority neurodiverse as well. So and then we took on a foster child who had a lot of support needs.
I think you said he didn't speak at all, is that right?
Yeah, he was 6. He very, very bright little boy, but, a very visual, spatial thinker, but he's, when we took him in, his father had committed suicide in the military, and his mom had, some challenges. So he didn't have anywhere to go. If we didn't take him in, he actually would have been institutionalized, and he was still in diapers and not speaking, at 6. And so we kind of made it our mission. And I was really impressed with my husband, because this really isn't his field, right? He's in finance, but he was there as a partner with me, changing his diapers at 2 a.m. And he did, we were really happy. We think we made a difference in his life, because we were in part of the process of teaching him a picture exchange communication system, PECS, and, he was learning some sign language, and he became just much more calm. And then it was sort of a positive story, because then we helped his mom started to get her act back together, and so we all worked together to make it possible that he could transition back to his biological mom with a team supporting him.
Hard work and very rewarding, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just, I saw how it really affected his self-esteem, because he had kind of been he was used to getting rejected by jobs, and I'm thinking, wow, here's this really talented young guy who can code, who just in a matter of days learned to code his own game, and he's been unemployed for several years, and And so it made me realize that sometimes, there could be these like set of negative experiences that happen with someone with disabilities, and then they, maybe they get discouraged and stop trying, but yet they're really talented.
Some of these individuals, I mean, they're just, they're coming from problem solving from a different perspective. They have unique perceptual, cognitive, analytical skills. You don't want everybody to be correlated, and this is a concept I call neurodiversification, right? Like if you have everybody that's cognitively and perceptually correlated, it's a risk to your company or your organization, and a lot of the business failures throughout history, I think some of them could have been prevented if you had someone in the room there that either A, noticed those risks, or B, had either the courage or just were not as concerned about social status and more concerned about your company to actually speak up. Graduating then as a junior in high school, and then was in an honors program at my local community college.
Okay, so you graduated early from high school and went to community college.
Right. And it was actually there then that I really felt like I found the path that I've been on since then, sort of my life's work. And I've had some really extraordinary mentors that really understood me and believed in me and helped me find that path.
I think you told me it's quite rare for people to go from a community college to some of the top higher education institutions.
Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting is I don't think enough students understand that it's realistic and it's possible. So I actually I'm a trustee now at the same community college I got my start at, and I've been president of my state association for community colleges, and I'm involved at the national level. It's something that I think is important for people to realize is that you can start at community college, you could transfer to anywhere, University of Chicago, Cornell, Harvard. And then I was also very, very fortunate to be the first community college graduate to be named a Rhodes Scholar as well and go to Oxford, which I think is pretty unusual.
Fabulous. So there's a list of really top institutions now on your resume. Chicago, you mentioned MIT, LSE, Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Amazing. As you look back and think about what enabled you to do that, you've mentioned the people that helped you. Is there anything else that was formative?
Well, I think it was around the time I was about 17, 18. I see that as a really important period in my life. And, a lot of it was I had good mentorship. I felt like I had people that were supporting me on the journey. But there was also just this very intense instinctive need to make a positive impact in the world. And it's hard for me to know exactly where it came from, but I became more self-aware around that time. And a lot of it probably does have to do with some of the family challenges, going through my mom's terminal illness, right, from such a young age. And then losing my dad, pretty young too. And sort of maybe going through things a lot of people eventually go through, but going through them at such a young age, I do think it definitely changed me and made me a much, much more adaptive person. And then also when I was in Oxford, I'm totally fine now. This is many, many years ago, but I had gone through cancer myself at the time. And so like just all these experiences together, I think it's really reinforced from a young age, realizing that nothing's guaranteed and wanting to do things that are meaningful in my life and, investing my time and energy in projects and initiatives that could make a positive difference, even after I'm gone, right? It's like just being more aware of like, it's not about me.
Last month, I was at the National Legislative Summit in DC, and I literally had trustees coming up to me to say how jealous they are of just, the amazing things we're doing here in the arts, which is incredibly unusual for community colleges. And also as an alum and now board chair, I just couldn't be more proud. He said, a lot of trustees are jealous. We have no idea how you as a community college have been able to attract a world-class art collection. And my response, I promised him, well, we actually have some pretty big news coming. And that for the College DuPage, Frida was just the beginning. Diana Martinez and her team pulled off a tremendous victory with the creative Frida Kahlo exhibit. And that success that success laid the foundation and established a strong momentum, including a remarkable network of supporters. And now that momentum is on full display here today as we plan for the Andy Warhol exhibit opening in the summer of 2023.
Give us other, I guess, neurodiversification issues or challenges that are common out there in the community that may be a challenge for employers to try to get their heads around.
Sure, yes. So, and just for context, neurodiversification is a concept I've brought up in a number of my prior keynotes, and so how to think about that is, I mean, obviously, diversification is an important concept, right, for portfolio management, for investment, and so the idea there is that, you know, when and a lot of research supports this, is then when all minds in a group are highly correlated in terms of their experiences, in terms of their cognitive tendencies, analytical skills, perceptual skills, there's the potential for overlapping cognitive and conceptual blind spots became a real risk. And so the idea of neurodiversification is a hedge against that risk. And I personally think that especially looking at the labor shortage that we have and, you know, the future of work in terms of innovation and creativity being paramount, that employers should be really interested in including more neurodivergent workers. In terms of challenges, there was a UK study back in 2020 from the Institute of Leadership and Management that showed over 50% of employers openly admitted that they would not hire a neurodivergent job seeker. So there's a lot of challenges that unfortunately have nothing to do with the ability or skill of a neurodivergent person to do the work if given the opportunity, but it has a lot to do with some inbuilt biases, the ways in which the interview processes work that could disadvantage some neurodivergent workers. There's a lot of issues that can become obstacles to successful employment.
You know, I think the work I do, it's all about, you know, not just, hey, let's check the box of, okay, you've got, you know, X number of people, neurodivergent people that work for you, but we're a values-driven organization. This is what we value, you know, and we're not threatened by people that may have a different opinion, and that we can, you know, find ways to have these productive conversations that push us farther, make us more competitive. And I think getting CEOs and getting people to understand the value of that's where they're going to be the best.
Right.
That's where they're going to be the most competitive. It's, you know, this isn't charity, right? So
Yeah.
like, you know, we need to think about, like, this is actually also just really beneficial to business and innovation, and we should be taking this more seriously.
Right, absolutely. So this is all we have time for, and this is a great thing to end it with. Thank you so much, Maureen. Thanks a lot for coming out. Let's give a round of applause to Maureen Dunne. Thank you so much.
Yeah.